all change at the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix. Australia were derailed as series leaders after a horrific crash at the last event.
Oh, contact! Australia turn! They've run over the mark!
Yeah, we're done. Guys. Sorry.
Got an 8-point stop from the season championship.
New Zealand are their main rivals and took the chance to upend the season standings.
Nothing the Kiwis like more than a hometown win.
Is this the end of Tom Slingsby's dominance in SailGP? And is his biggest rival, Peter Burley, about to steal his crown?
Waves crash underneath, sound like thunder speaking. Flying carbon machines, driven by the world's best, yes. Powered by nature, raw passion, all action. When it takes, racing on water, racing with impact. Give it all, everything, give it all, everything. We are racing. When it takes, we are SailGP.
After traveling around the world over the last 9 events, SailGP has arrived once again in the Atlantic Ocean and the iconic waters of Bermuda. Today, event 10 of season 4 takes place in the Great Sound. This is the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix. Welcome to one of the most beautiful sailing venues anywhere on the planet, and today the world's best takes center stage as the battle for a spot in the season-ending grand final is heating up. Alongside Olympian Stevie Morrison and former world champion Bermuda's own Emily Nagel, I'm Todd Harris. We have reached a critical point of the season, and points in Bermuda are an absolute premium for those teams still in the hunt for the Season 4 overall title. Before we go racing on day 1, let's bring you up to speed on the twists and turns of a chaotic last event, the ITM New Zealand Sail Grand Prix.
The last event in Christchurch brought about huge changes in the season standings. It was a spectacular event with sellout crowds and perfect conditions.
All of Christchurch on their feet. Say hello to your winners.
The story, though, was about how a series of crashes massively reshuffled the overall scoreboard. It began in the practice race with Emirates Great Britain and Spain.
Great Britain need to keep clear. Yeah, there's contact. Whoa, that was solid contact. But I imagine there'll be proper damage on the Brits there, and that's not going to be good news for them.
Yeah, we had a shocker, absolute shocker. Ultimately, it was a poor starboard. We were in the wrong and had to put our hand up there. And yeah, I mean, I just had no idea where they were. Didn't see them.
Then, at the first start of the day, Rockwool Denmark smashed into the Canadian team.
Tightened on board, it's tight in the middle. Oh, there could be a collision in the middle of the line there. Oh my word. Rockwool Denmark and Canada. Rockwool Denmark had to keep clear.
We didn't know Canada was there. We knew the US was there, so we were trying to set up on USA, but just didn't know Canada was there until it was too late. And yeah, very frustrating.
Moments later, this incident totally reshaped the overall leaderboard.
Big contact. What? That was unthinkable there. Oh my
major
word.
damage.
Major damage.
Our bow was heading straight for Phil Robertson and his crew, and I had to sort of make a decision. We're going to hit something, and I just turned hard onto the mark. And I look, at the end of the day, my hand's up. I need to go back and look at it, but yeah, I just don't know where we could have gone.
Look at the change in the overall standings after all the incidents in Christchurch and the penalty points issued. Triple champions Australia have been dethroned by New Zealand after their hometown win, and the point deficit was made even worse by their 8-point penalty. Rockwool Denmark are now firmly mid-table, while Emirates Great Britain have their work cut out down in 8th place.
And the drama continued in practice racing with this incident on board the U.S. boat yesterday.
Oh, they flipped! Oh my lord, disaster! Oh, I hope no one's hurt in that. That was a disaster. They flipped the wing the wrong way there.
Yeah, tough day for us. Third race today on the high-speed reach. We had kind of a unfortunate situation where the wing got inverted.
Bottom of the hill.
And we had a pretty nasty crash. Everybody, went through the wing, and yeah, unfortunately, broke the top of our wing, but the positive of this is nobody's seriously hurt. This is racing on the edge, as they say, and we pushed a little past the edge today. You know, it's the last thing you're expecting to happen, and the force of the crash, you know, it just kind of doesn't matter if you're holding on. You're just, you know, your hands release, and you quickly try to brace yourself for what you're about to hit. It's about the comeback, right? And that's we'll take grit, you know, over talent every day of the week.
Unfortunately for the U.S. team, the damage to the wing is too significant to be back on the water this weekend in Bermuda. A huge sailing fan base will turn out both on land and on the water here in Bermuda, as this nation has always supported SailGP as it now makes its third visit to these waters. So day one, we'll see 3 fleet races with 9 teams out on the water. Then Sunday, we'll have an additional 2 fleet races for those of you who scored at home. A race win is worth 10 points, all the way down to 1 point for last place. Then only the top 3 teams will race in a winner-take-all event final. Right now, let's take a look at this weekend's course with Stevie Morrison.
Well, there's nothing dark and stormy about the racetrack here in Bermuda, and as always, as the clock counts to 0, the boats need to be behind the line. At Mark 1, the course opens up. At each gate, the boats can turn left or right. Remember that these sailing boats need to sail at an angle to the wind to generate some speed, so we see the teams taking different paths as they try and find the fastest time between gates. The course is quite wide here, so there will be overtaking lanes if you can manoeuvre well enough to find them. However, the devil will as always be in the detail if you're going to hope to finish first in front of the fans on the shore.
Well, the fans are ready, and the 9-boat international fleet is poised and primed to put on a show here on the Great Sound. Before we release the hounds, let's have a quick update on the conditions on the water with Olympic silver medalist Lisa Darmanin.
Todd, the conditions are prime down here on the Great Sound in Bermuda. The wind is coming onshore. It's 22 kilometres per hour, gusting to 33 kilometres per hour from the northeast. It's absolutely fantastic conditions. It's slightly choppy, so the boats are sailing a little bit lower to the water. They've got their high-speed boards, high-speed rudders, and that all-purpose 24-metre wing. Plenty of training has been happening. Everybody is looking quite in control, but let's see how they go when you put 9 boats on a start line.
All right, thank you very much, Lisa. Emily Nagel, these are your home waters. What makes the Great Sound so dynamic and such a great place to race on?
Well, what's brilliant about it is it's this natural amphitheatre, which means it's just set up perfectly for some stadium racing, which means that the breeze is a lot more consistent than some of the venues we've been to. The water is a lot flatter, which means the sailors can really push these boats to the absolute limit. So it is a little bit choppy, but I still expect to see the sailors pushing hard, and we've already seen speeds up to 90 kilometres an hour.
So if you're just joining us here in Bermuda, the USA team is out after a capsize yesterday during practice racing, so it'll be 9 international teams. We're under 90 seconds away from the start of race number 1. 3 full fleet races today, and then 2 more tomorrow before the event final. All right, Stevie Morrison, everyone's excited because the wind is up. This is one of the best tracks anywhere in the world, and I think everyone's excited to show what these F-50s can do.
Yeah, it's perfect conditions. Here we see, you know, New Zealand, surely the team to beat. They've been on fire for the last 4 events. What are they going to do here?
Here we go, 1 minute away as they get themselves into the start box position. 9 teams out racing with the USA unable to go this weekend. That's going to hurt their points chances. Meanwhile, at the other end of the table, New Zealand now on top on the overall standings, 68 points. Australia, the 3-time reigning champions, sitting in second with 59.
Always so much to be learnt in the first race of the day, and the new venue here as we see the start line, red line across the bottom of our screen. That blue triangle in the middle, that's effectively our pole position. That's the perfect place to start. However, we know that so often it's about hitting the line at full speed. That's the absolute key to getting this right. Late into the box, right-hand side of our screen. Great Britain and Rockwall, Denmark already up and foiling. Top of the line, New Zealand are already in. France looking for a late run at thing with 15 seconds to go. Favoured pole position at the moment is this star at the top of the mast here, suggests the best place to stay on Canada. Australia now show us the best. Middle of the line, big gap for Australia. How's your timing, Tom Slingsby, in the middle there? Perfect start for the Australians. That's absolute magic from Tom Slingsby. Disaster in New Zealand, but back with a bang here in Bermuda.
Hard gust here in 2, 1, up on.
And as they approach mark number 1, it is the Aussies and the French out in front. We've got 7 legs here on race number 1 here at the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix.
Tactical control with Slingsby on board the Australian boat there, and he used it well, gave the French a little nudge. He leads Delapierre around mark 1. It's tight in the pack though. New Zealand somewhere near the back. Rockwell, Denmark, they are all chasing the Aussies as they are already setting up. Looking at mark 2, Tash Bryant in the back there. She's got to head out the boat. Strategist, got to be looking around, finding the opportunities. Entering the boundary on board France, suddenly the right of way turns to the French. Australia have got to keep clear. They manoeuvre fast in front there. Both boats should be well lined up for gate 2. Perfect manoeuvres by those 2 boats, and it's just about execution of boat speed from here.
Look at these speeds, easily in the 60 kilometers an hour.
Yep, here we've got France, fastest boat on the water at the moment, 69 kilometers an hour, but the Australians are hot on their heels. Now, for those of you in the US, miles per hour, 44 miles per hour.
So it's Australia out in front, France and Canada, the top 3. And let's not forget, Stevie, Canada unable to practice yesterday as they were doing some testing for the T-foils. That comes up next season.
Yeah, they were out early today, though, the Canadians. They've put an aggressive move back here. Switzerland have got to keep clear. Tight manoeuvre for the Swiss. Can he keep out the way? Right of way now with Canada. Switzerland needs to keep clear. It's going to be tricky for Switzerland from here. First round, Australia. Second, France. And then to split the course, it's Canada. Great opportunity now, Todd, to learn a bit about the course. Was it good to do the left turn as the Australians have, or good for the Canadians doing the right?
Well, the Canadians certainly made life difficult for Switzerland as they pick up a penalty. Nathan Outers almost comes to a dead stop, and now they're a complete roadblock as Emirates, GBR, and Denmark try to work around them.
It was always hard where the Swiss had to manoeuvre right in front of the Canadians. Phil Robertson, aggressive move, beautifully executed by that Canadian team. And yeah, the Swiss are out the back door here. As soon as you're off the foils, it's going to be very painful today.
Stand by. Hold down at 3.
And here we've got the wind speed across the course, so it's fairly even. The Australians on the top of the screen, 26 kilometers an hour. Canadians at the bottom, a little bit less. We did see them with similar numbers before, but clearly going into a lull now towards the center of the course.
Throwing a lot of numbers at you here. This is race number 1, leg 3 of 7, and France has now come off the foils.
Oh, Todd, another unforced error. You just can't afford that in these conditions. It's flat water, it's easy foiling. These are silly mistakes from the crews early on in the day here. We'd not expect that, and that's going to cause them a lot of problems. Really, they've lost a lot of distance. Canada already through the fleet, and we can see at the top of their mast there, look, Canada 100%, Australia 100%, but France 91%. Foiling efficiency, they fell off the foils, they've been punished.
We just saw a message there from race management saying that GBL went outside of the boundary, so penalty there for them.
And this is a large course, Stevie. We've had much tighter courses throughout season 4, but this one, plenty of room to stretch your legs.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting course. It's a real tactical course. The wind's a little bit shifty. It changes direction. What does that mean? Well, if it changes direction in your favour, you've got the opportunity to minimise the distance. And I think this is a real day for the strategists to have their head out the boat. We saw them not having their head out the boat enough in New Zealand. We had some crashes, collisions, but now can they spot the tactical opportunities on the water?
And we've seen a lot more of the team's playbooks changing a little bit to accommodate that. So keep an eye out for that strategist at the back of the boat and how they position themselves on board. We've seen a lot of the time strategists now going to leeward a lot more, sitting on the other side of the wing to keep an eye out for other boats.
Speaking of stretching their legs, the Australians way out in front by 200 meters as they approach gate number 3. We check it down on the water, and the Australian, Lisa Darman. And Lisa, how have the conditions changed, or have they changed since we started this first race?
The conditions are pretty similar. Obviously, the wind is up. It's not moving too much in terms of the amount of pressure, but it is slightly shifty. So the Australians, they had a really good angle, so they essentially, I think, sailed less distance on that one. That's why they were able to gain on the Canadians. So, yeah, all over there are some light patches where people are getting stuck up, but really it's boat handling that's pushing them off the foils.
And Stevie, you always talk about what do you want to do, better angle, or do you want to make more maneuvers? And right now it seems like the Australians have found the perfect formula.
Yeah, there's a compromise to be had all the time. there's a chance to get yourself in a more favourable bit of wind, but if you have to manoeuvre to do that, you know you're going to lose distance. So you've got to see that the gain I'm going to make by going for that bit more wind or going for that more efficient angle to sail is going to make up for the 60 metres I'll lose when I manoeuvre. So the teams are always playing a compromise. I think there we saw that Australia's tactics were really good and the French only lost out because of that poor manoeuvre. So control what you can control. You should be able to do good manoeuvres. Let's be accurate with those manoeuvres.
And here is exactly what you've just said, but in number form. So the Australians sailed the shortest amount of distance compared to the Canadians and French, and that's how they've stretched away. So had their eyes out the boat, spotting the correct shifts, and because of that, they're able to sail less distance.
Almost all the teams now of the 9 that are out on the water. The Americans, of course, not sailing today. The 9 are all on to leg number 4 of 7, but Australia way out in front. Then it's Canada, France, New Zealand. Remember, it's 10 points for a win, all the way down to 1 point for last place, but everyone's trying to accumulate enough points that they make it into the top 3 and the event final coming up tomorrow.
Doesn't seem too mentally jaded by what happened at the last event in New Zealand, Tom Slingsby, does he? Absolutely clinical for the Australians. You know, they've been here, they've sailed here a lot before. They are the ultimate champions of SailGP, 3 times overall season champions, and just absolute perfection so far from these Aussies.
And Stevie, I want to stay with Australia because a lot of us, we were talking about Tom Slingsby. How would he react to having those points deducted? When you saw that incident, was there room for him to do anything else? Of course, he was trying to stay away and not run into the Canadians and Phil Robertson, but was there room, in hindsight, what could he have done differently?
Hindsight's very easy, isn't it? I think he could have maybe seen the situation coming a fraction earlier. I think it probably jumped up on him once he started reacting. I think maybe his only decision was that, but I would have thought, you know, in hindsight he could look back and say I could have seen that earlier. But the most important thing, he will have analysed it. He will have hopefully put it to bed in his head. We know how much Tom likes to kind of carry these things, but clearly right now we see middle of our screen working their way back into the wind, nearly, you know, 300 metres ahead of the next boat. He's clearly put those gremlins away from him right now, and that Australian boat's sailing well. But don't underestimate the team around him. You know, he's got a very strong team. People like Carl Langford, Kinley Fowler, Tash Bryan at the back. You know, they'll have all had a word with him. Don't worry, Tom. Let's just get the ship moving forward again.
And we also know just how skilled all of those sailors are. Looking at the data from yesterday in the practice racing, one of the things that we noticed was that their platform is the most stable. They're foiling almost the highest, but they're moving so minimal in that range, and that's all down to Jason Waterhouse.
Leg 5 of 7. This is race number 1 of 3 here. The first day of racing at the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix. If you're just joining us, the U.S. team capsized yesterday, damaged their wing. They can't race. The Australians coming off an 8-point season point deduction, which bumped them from 1st into 2nd place. Behind this team, the Black Foils of New Zealand. Lisa Darmanin, you're Australian. You've been around that team a lot there on site. How confident are the Aussies with this boat? Because they had to do so much work on it. The electronics, the hydraulics, everything else. It looks like it's sailing pretty nice.
I mean, I think the Australians, they really haven't let it phase them. Obviously, they've turned up, they've got a new beam, and they had one day sort of practicing, just checking that, you know, everything was working properly. But these are really their conditions, especially if they get round mark 1 first. They are just so happy. That team is so in tune from the back of the boat to the front of the boat, and I think that's what we're seeing right now. They're in front, but they're not playing it safe. They're just pushing and extending their lead. So this team, this is where they really came together back in 2017, and with the addition of Jason and Tash. But I think they're just having a great time sailing here, to be honest, and it looks fantastic. I'm a little jealous.
It does look perfect. I think what's noticeable, they all look so comfortable. The whole Australian team, they're all sat a little bit lower in the boat most of the time. I think that's a consequence of the water being flatter here, the wind being quite steady. The Aussies are really looking at the low windage setup, but we see Canada 2nd place. New Zealand, they have the right of way here. They've closed the gap on the French, potentially past the French here, moved by the Black Foils up through the fleet. Canada probably going to have to do one more manoeuvre to get round unless they can just squeeze it up to that right turn in a few moments' time. New Zealand look good though. They're going to split left. Canada are going to look to turn right. Another chance for a gain here by the Black Foils. They're on the charge.
5, 3, 2, 1, turning now.
And the voice of Phil Robertson as the Canadians split the course as the Kiwis go left, the Canadians go right. It looks like Content de la Pierre and the French will follow the black foils around that left side of the next gate. So Australia way out in front. Then you've got New Zealand, Canada, and France, and Germany now appearing in the top 5. Everyone battling for a 10 points. That's for the win. And Stevie minimizing these deficits, trying to stay in that top 4 or 5. You can have one bad race in this thing, but you cannot have 2.
Yeah, I mean, pressure already on Great Britain. They're out the back in this race, and as we line up here, Australia down the road on the top right-hand side of our screen, they're looking well set up, but an interesting tactical situation with New Zealand and Canada that will play out over the next minute or so. New Zealand will have to do more manoeuvres, but last manoeuvre here for Slingsby should be one more move and then left turn at the bottom to the finish. Here we go. Canada, the top left of our screen, they have the right of way over New Zealand, but can the Kiwis get down to the gate with no more turns? How are they going to deal with Phil Robertson? Advantage Robertson at the moment, but expect a late move from Pete Burling as he charges at them.
So the Australians make the turn around the last gate, and it'll be a straight shot to the finish line. And race number 1 here, day 1 of the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix, will go the way of the Aussies. Tom Slingsby with a beautiful rebound here in Bermuda to take the win.
Perfect work by them. Look at that. What a finish. Here we go. Advantage Canada now. New Zealand must keep clear. He ducks away behind him. Canada ahead of them again now, but as they approach that final mark, it could be 2 more moves for New Zealand, but they'll have the right of way as they come in at the bottom. It's going to be so tight here as we come down. Canada are fast. France are fast. New Zealand on the inside, I think will have to do 2 more manoeuvres to get around the mark, but they do have the right of way. Can Burling and this New Zealand crew keep the boat fast enough? He must turn on the yellow circle. Canada is going to be fast.
So the Kiwis have to deal not only with Robertson and the Canadians, but also France and De La Pierre. It's Content de la Pierre. He spins it to the inside. Look how close they are.
Canada have got the advantage here. New Zealand must keep clear. Robertson just needs to stay fast. He slingshots around the outside. Brilliant by Robertson. And that set itself up a long way out, but it's going to be Canada bringing it home second. The black foils up to third. And the French, well, good first race, but they'll be disappointed to drop back to 4th.
A masterful job by Phil Robertson and his Canadians as they put the slingshot effect in as they get around New Zealand to claim that 2nd place finish and the points that go with it. New Zealand settles for 3rd. France will come in 4th, and Germany, again, a top 5.
That's brilliant by the Germans, and this is a big move here, Todd. Denmark were last early on in the race here. They've sailed a very good final upwind, and they've got themselves back to 6th. That will be a counting result here. That could be a big, big result for Rockwool Denmark.
A counting result, but I think they're still going to be disappointed, especially after Christchurch and the penalty points. They really need a good performance here to solidify a position in the top 3.
Nikolai Sehested brings home the Rockwool Denmark squad, and look at Emirates GBR. They are coming on fast. All this is the battle for 8th and 9th place. Nathan Outridge and the Swiss, they are almost dead in the water. Both holes now up. They're trying to get sailing again, and it looks like Giles Scott, he might work a little magic here on the final leg.
Oh, I can't believe the Swiss took that long to get back on the foils. That's surprising. There's such good wind here. Oh, they've just flown a bit too high. Struggling a little bit on the Swiss boat right now. That was a big loss. Every point counts. And they lost a lot of distance there, the Swiss. I'm surprised how long it took to get back on the foils. Relatively new team together there, but you've got to think Nathan Outridge is going to be pretty upset with that performance there by the Swiss team. Promising early start. It's all about consistency.
Promising indeed, especially if you're a fan of the Australians, as Tom Slingsby and team, they bring it home with a dominating win on race number 1 here at the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix. This is event 10 of 13 here on the Great Sound in Season 4. Give it up for the Australians. They take the win. So as the Australians now debrief, we take a moment and go back, and Emily, what a start.
Just watch the Australians here. They had some space all around them to accelerate towards the line at full throttle, and the optimum point on the line, that blue triangle, was up for grabs, and they took it. At the gun, they were 7 meters behind the line, going full speed, but the closest to that optimum point, and first to mark 1.
Well, and I think it's the kind of day where the leaders out in front are going to get to make the decisions. They've got clear wind. So the clear wind means you're always able to sail faster. That's the first thing when we talk about here. But when you get back in the pack, as the Swiss did there, they were right in the mix on this first downwind. One manoeuvre a bit close to the Canadians, and it was very costly, and bad manoeuvres is the story of the day. France here, poor manoeuvre. It was already a little way into the race, so maybe not too costly, but a simple second place turned into a fourth. How important will those points be? Mistakes do hurt you, as they should, and the Australians, well, they made no mistakes, brought it home first. And then Phil Robertson, bit of maturity at the bottom of the course here. We saw him make a mistake with a similar manoeuvre to this in Abu Dhabi. He stayed wide, he stayed fast, he got it done. Good result for the Canadians.
So for the Australians who are out front, they've got plenty of speed to do it, or space to do what they want, so they sail faster and less distance. Easy. But further back in the pack for Canada and New Zealand, they had to sail a bit smarter, find the space to push that boat speed. So Canada did sail more distance than the Kiwis, but they were able to put the bow down, push faster, and ultimately get that second place.
So the Canadians unable to race yesterday as they were out practicing for some new equipment. The Canadians, though, looking very good today as they pick up 9 points. We go on board with their driver, Phil Robertson, and, of course, their wing trimmer, Paul Campbell-James. Phil, we'll start with you. What a race. I know you love these waters here in Bermuda. What made that race different from what we've seen maybe in the last 2-3 events?
The colour of the water's pretty spectacular. That's quite a change. But look, it's beautiful conditions. We've sort of had a little bit windier in the warm-up. It's dropped about 5 kilometres an hour, so it's getting tricky with the high-speed sort of foil package on the boat to keep the boat flying through all the manoeuvres. So speed and speed into your manoeuvres is key, and keeping your nose clean.
Phil, you did a brilliant job of a little bit of maturity at that final bottom mark to go slingshot round the outside of the Kiwi team. How satisfying was it to stick that manoeuvre?
Yeah, we call that one the Craig Mitchell.
Yeah.
It's giving them lots of space and keeping clean. But no, it was good. It was nice to go around there. We've learned that lesson, and nice to execute it, that's for sure.
Yeah, nice. And CJ, we can see you there, wing trimmer. Bit of a boat speed day out there for you. What are we looking for setup-wise?
Yeah, it's a bit different to all the other regattas we've done this year, where it's all about manoeuvres and short tacking, and this one is all about hitting targets and making sure the boat's going fast. So, Phil got us off the start line really well there, and that meant the job of keeping clear breeze was easy, which meant going fast was easy. But you've got to keep an eye on those Aussies and Kiwis because they are rapid, so we've got to keep behind us.
Phil and CJ, appreciate your time. Wish you the best of luck. Canada finishing in second place on the first race here at the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix. Well, for the 3-time reigning and defending champions, Australia, Season 4 was progressing nicely as they had defended home waters with an event win in Sydney. The team's first win of the year, when that's hard to believe, as the 3-time reigning and defending champions. And then Christchurch created a massive shift, not only in the overall standings, but the potential of even making the season-ending grand final. And that is something that is even hard to fathom. Australia not in the main final.
We were having a great season, and we were consistent, and we were holding at the top of the league.
And it's Australia by a full boat length. Tom Slingsby works his magic. Hocus pocus. Australia takes the win in Sydney.
It all got sort of turned on its head in Christchurch, and we went from an 8-point lead to a 9 points behind.
Oh, contact! Australia turn, but they've run over the mark. The mark's underneath the boat. Major blow for Tom Slingsby. They receive 8 points docked from the season championship.
I don't think that we should be not penalised or given redress or anything like that. It's part of racing. The fact is, if I ran straight into Canada and injured people but didn't do much damage to the boat, there's a high chance I would be walking away with like tiny penalty points and keep racing in the event.
The way the umpires looked at it was based on their flowchart, which is how they assess damage. If you look at the flowchart, it's like minor damage, damage, serious damage. And everyone else that weekend came off at damage because they could keep sailing. But it was serious damage because the Australians couldn't keep sailing. And essentially the Australians came out with almost worst case scenario where the season points were so significant that, not only are they knocked off first place, but they're at risk of not making the final anymore.
I feel like for me, the umpires should be able to see that it's not all black and white. there are grey areas in our sport, and I think the penalty was too harsh. My feeling was that we just didn't deserve the maximum points ever given in SailGP, but we've had what I would call quite reckless sailing at times. For 4 seasons we've led the season points and always had a big target on our back, and this is the first time where we've actually been behind on points, and I don't think I need to change the way I'm sailing. I think I just need to learn the lessons and move on and keep racing hard.
Well, some great action so far here on the Great Sound at the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix. 1 race down, 2 more to go. And then again, 2 more fleet races tomorrow before the event final. As Australia strikes first as they get the first win of 5. And can they get themselves back into the event final as they try to climb back on top of the board? Racing on the Edge takes a look at how the Black Foils nearly made their home event final and how it's all changed in the overall scoreboard. Biggest news is the return of Kiwi Peter Burley for his home event. He will be more than willing to prove that the Aussie victory in the last Grand Prix was a one-off.
Incredible to see the Aussies take so long to get a win on the board this season. They obviously got one against us when we were in a slightly weakened squad, so yeah, looking forward to trying to beat them again.
It's Peter Burley time right now to stick the knife in, saying, yeah, you should be worried about me.
Push for the line, Sir White. Perfect start there. Wow.
Oh, wow, what a mountain to climb for the Kiwis to qualify. It's going to take a legendary comeback.
It looks like the New Zealander team are not going to make the final at the home event.
They need to overtake the Spanish to get in the final. Spain has decided to turn left to cover Canada. Pete doesn't follow.
Just have to pass one boat in front.
Here come the Black Foils, faster than everyone else.
We managed to pass them on the next beat, which I think brought the biggest cheer I've ever heard from a sailing crowd.
Kiwis, French and Canadians will be the boats that go through to this final race.
Kiwis there on the inside, they have control. They should lead from here at Mark 1.
At mark number 1, it is the Kiwis. The Black Foils are up and fully with pace.
Hear the crowd on the shore. That sounds like half of New Zealand standing up to applaud them.
Say hello to your winners. It's the Black Foils with the win.
I think winning at home is one of the most special things in sport. It's just unbelievable.
A hero's welcome. What a day of racing here. Look at New Zealand. They now are the leaders.
Waves crash underneath, sound like thunder speaking. Flying carbon machines, driven by the world's best. Yes, powered by nature, powered by nature. We are SailGP.
Bermuda isn't just a stunning location, it's steeped in a rich maritime history. Visitors can immerse themselves in the historic sites whilst absorbing the unique influence of British, Caribbean, and Portuguese culture. Bermuda was discovered in 1609 and is an extraordinary geographical anomaly, one of the most remotely inhabited places in the world. It's easy to see why SailGP keeps returning to this world-class destination and to race in the stunning Great Sound. Without question, one of the most beautiful places on this globe. Welcome to Bermuda. This is day 1 of the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix. Todd Harris alongside Emily Nagel, Stevie Morrison, and Lisa Darmanin as we get ready to race number 2, and it'll be all on to see if anyone can track down the Aussies as they absolutely dominated in race number 1. Remember, coming off that 8-point deduction for collision in Christchurch, New Zealand. Well, just a short time ago, it was Lisa Darmanin down on the water talking with the Australian team.
Tom, congratulations. Obviously bounced back from Christchurch pretty nicely.
And maybe we should crash into marks more often. Nah, definitely not. But that was a really good race. We got a great start and the conditions are perfect, and yeah, we're able to sail away. It felt like a bit of the Australia of old there.
It definitely looked like that. You guys extended. I think there were some questions whether, you know, the crash would spook you or not, but you went firing off that start line.
Yeah, I'm glad no one was near us. It felt like we had no boats around us and we had all the room, could do whatever we wanted. It was a nice, great start, and yeah, no, we're excited. This is perfect conditions. Hopefully we can back it up with 2 more good races.
Race course looks, you know, fairly simple. Is it a little bit of shifts to play with? Not too gusty?
It is shifty. It's about shifting between about 20 degrees, so it's not one of those courses where you just go straight to the boundaries. It's it doesn't look that shifty, but it really is. So it's good. It means there's some overtaking lanes if you do get back.
Thanks, Tom. I'll let you go debrief. Thanks for chatting.
Thank you, Lisa. As we get a look at the Australians now, they'll look to go 2 for 2 as we come up on 3 minutes to go. We are lucky enough to have a local Stevie in with us as Emily Nagel, born in Bermuda. Emily, we've talked about what makes this place so dynamic, but SailGP keeps coming here 3rd year in a row, and they're doing a great job of not only bringing sailing here, but preserving what is the beauty that's already here.
Yeah, exactly. SailGP have been amazing at supporting some local projects, specifically the Bermuda Seagrass Restoration Project. This is their 3rd year in a row supporting it, and it's all about restoring this natural seagrass that helps contribute to the local blue economy. Not only is that one of the projects going on in Bermuda, there's plenty that Bermudians are really getting behind to help take care of this amazing, amazing spot. So,
and one of those Bermudians is your mom.
Yeah, my mum is heavily involved in projects like this. There's other companies such as the Living Reefs Foundation, Triangle Carbon Strategies, Movement, just some epic projects that are really looking to promote sustainability and protecting this amazing island.
So we say thank you to Bermuda, and we say thank you to Emily's mom. Stevie, 2 minutes to go. The Germans had a great first race, finishing in the top 5.
Yeah, I think they're going about their business really well and really quietly. You got Eric Heil there, 2-time Olympic bronze medalist, but you know, new to this hydrofoiling, catamaran sailing, and I think he's got a bit of experience with James and Stuart. But the sailors like Sophie, Felix in the team, you know, they're bringing a really good learning environment on board that boat, and they're going about their business really quite efficiently. They're slowly getting better. 5th in that race, a great start to the regatta. They're executing good, they're controlling what they can control, and that is the key to any successful sport team. So I really like what I'm seeing at the moment from the Germans.
How about the French? This is one of those teams, Stevie, that's in the hunt to be in the grand final in San Francisco. They currently sit in 4th place overall with 54 points.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a huge team there. Olivier, Mathieu, the grinders on the boat. They were in this SailGP from the very first season. A few mistakes in that first race, but they're coming into form at just the right part of the season.
So 1 minute to go before the start of race number 2. Remember, we're scheduled for 3 races today. Australia winning the first race as all the teams get into the start box. You'll notice the Stars and Stripes not there. They had a capsize yesterday, damaged the wing, unable to repair it overnight, so they will miss out. We'll have 9 teams racing here now as we approach 40 seconds before the start of race 2.
Here we go, boats already lining up here. Something for us to look out for in the Prix star. The little gold square at the top of the rig with a black star in it. And that's our theoretical, perfectly positioned boat to go towards the start line. So they will, in theory, get to the mark first. We saw that middle of the line was favoured. Here we go. But Canada right now, they have the gold dot with the black star. From the position they're in right now, should they execute things well, they should lead at Mark 1. Tight to do that, though, of course. I like where Australia is. The Swiss coming in at the bottom of the line. They're struggling to find some space, as are the Spanish. Canada still well positioned, still predicted to be first at Mark 1. Can they execute? Watch for the lines turn white. Perfect start there at the gun. I like where Australia and Germany are here. Canada are going fast at the top of the line, but I think the Germans, if they can hold on, are going to be able to stay on the inside, but they've got the Roos rocketing over the top of them.
One coming up slowly here.
It's race number 2 as they approach mark number 1. Germany on the inside, Australia off to their right, and there is Canada. The top 3 teams, they go 3 wide in mark 1.
Theory's great, but practice is the reality of things, and Germany hung on the inside there. Tactical advantage. Canada have got to keep clear of Australia. It's tight back in the pack. New Zealand out the back. Expect them to manoeuvre away first, as Slingsby's looking for space.
Canada turns away as the Germans ride the Australians right up on the border.
Yeah, we see that dotted line running down the screen there. That's the boundary, so that's when the right-of-way switches between the teams. Australia manoeuvred well, but the Germans executed brilliantly once again, staying in control of what they can. Canada are in there again. Phil Robertson on board there. Got his head out the boat.
How about the Spanish?
Yeah, well, Spanish manoeuvred well first. They're going to have another manoeuvre to do at the bottom of the course, though, here. So I think it's interesting. I'm not sure what Germany got a penalty for there. Interesting. We'll have to find out on their boundary penalty. Here we go. Race management message. They went a little bit wide on the boundary.
The Spanish going for their manoeuvre hit. They have had brilliant speed down this leg so far.
The Germans, to lose their penalty, had to slow up a little bit. Right of way with the Spanish. Australia spin the boat aggressively. Wow, Tom Slingsby not scared of still slinging this Aussie boat around. He's going to be tight at the bottom of the course, though. Will he make it down with no more manoeuvres? He's on the inside. He has the right of way, but he's going to be slow.
2, 1.
Perfectly executed by the Aussies. They've done a nice job there. Well judged by Slingsby.
And Stevie, that's a question I've got for you. Was Australia intending to go that side of the course, or did they have to take that side or dip behind Spain and lose even more distance?
I think they would have liked to carry on, Todd, in that situation and save themselves a manoeuvre, but Bottini had sailed really fast on the downwind. He had the right of way. Right. If there's someone in your way with the right of way, you've got to make the manoeuvre, but Slingsby executed it perfectly, held on to the lead, but yes, he's now probably on plan B.
So here we go. We're on to leg 3 of 7. This is race number 2. And it is, again, the Australians out in front, but Spain is up there with them. The Germans are up there on the top of your screen. Look at Phil Robertson and the Canadians just lurking in the distance.
So breeze across the course at the moment is quite up and down. We're seeing everything from 18 kilometers an hour up to 25. Currently, a little more pressure with the Canadians at the top of the screen there. Coming across now. They've also had more space on their own. The Australians have been quite close with the Spanish, so good news for Phil Robertson.
The other boat, I think, has done a good job of finding space, and space in amongst the melee is the New Zealand boat of Burlington too. They were way back. They got the right of way over Denmark here, potentially already up to 5th. They were dead last at Mark 1, and they've done that by finding space. We heard, interestingly, in the interview with Phil Robertson and CJ on board the Canadian boat, they said the Kiwis are rapid. Well, you're only rapid if you can get yourself in space, and if you watch this race the whole time, most of the boats moving up our screen, New Zealand, they're in space on their own down here. That means they've got the opportunity to sail the boat at 100% percentage. If you're in the pack, it's so hard to go fast. Easy for the Canadians, though, and they're absolutely nailing it at the moment. But watch out for the New Zealand boat. They're definitely on the move.
And here's that head-to-head, the average speed. So Canada leading the pack at the moment, 60 kilometres an hour of average speed. The Aussies a little bit slower, but they have had a bit more to deal with around them.
Coming up on the halfway point of race number 2 here at the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix. Lisa Darmanin down on the water, on the course. Lisa, are the conditions the same as what we saw in race number 1? And do you think they're going to change or forecasted to change for race 3?
The wind was supposed to moderate just before start time, so it has done that. If anything, it has dropped off a little bit. So as Phil and CJ were saying, it is a little bit difficult to stick those manoeuvres with those smaller foils, but most of the teams are building before the manoeuvre. So you'll see they'll put the bow down a little bit, they'll build their speed, and then they'll do their turn. It is quite shifty, so I think, you know, that Australian team, they did get overtaken because of that big right shift, and the Canadians were able to capitalise on that. So they'll split at this gate, and we'll see how early the Australians choose to drive and get over the right-hand side.
And Stevie, while Lisa was reporting down on the water, we saw Germany with a big dip, and they came almost to a complete stop.
Yeah, pushing a bit hard, Todd, they were, and they just flew a little high there. The boats want to be at 100%. They want to be flying at max height. Trouble with being on the edge is if you go over it, things get messy pretty quick. Look at that, New Zealand 3rd. Last at Mark 1, gate number 3, 3rd. I mean, they are fast.
So it's Canada still out in front, Australia in 2nd, the Kiwis, the Black Foils in 3rd. Denmark has moved up to 4th place, with Spain, who were running the top 2, now dropping back to 5th. And then Germany, as we said just moments ago, with a big moment on board. Eric Heil, though, righted the ship, and they're back up and running. Here it is again.
Yeah, just on board the German boat. Look at the foil to the left-hand side there. That's showing how fast they're going, and they just get a little bit too high. They get the boat a little bit too leaned on top of them, and it jumps out the water there. See, that foil comes up. They work in water, not in the air, and if you get too high, you get air around it. That's what happened there. As soon as there's air around it, crash down.
So back to live racing here in Bermuda, leg 4 of 7. Canada still out in front. Their lead now down to less than 100 meters, with Australia closing in. So again, we're going to have a great battle here between Phil Robertson in Canada and Tom Slingsby of Australia.
Rounding up in 3, 2, 1.
And they'll split the course.
5.
Emily, you like the strategy with Slingsby going the opposite way?
It'll be interesting to see what plays off here. Last time, obviously, the Canadians went the other way. They made big gains out of that. So whether that reverses, we will see. But both boats have a lot of space.
Tight moment there. That might have been too close by New Zealand. He pushed it so close with the Spanish. The Spanish look like they're round anyway, although New Zealand are on the inside. So New Zealand have the right of way now. Those rules will very quickly change over there. Aggressive from Burling. He slammed it inside. Botin there, really, really close, but he peels away. He's off the foils. Should be a quick build for the New Zealand boat from here, but that is a mistake.
Fleet really bunching up here. There you see Tom Slingsby, the Australians. They are currently in first place. Canada in second, but this is very, very close.
There's two boats out in front now. They've got space. They're in good shape. Canada showing as having a nice lead. Spain, they've taken a boundary penalty as well. Sailing a little bit too wide on the course. That, you know, you don't need to make that costly error there. They might think they're going to gain a little bit going wide, but no, you lose 20 metres relative to your top speed. Look at the Aussies here. All of them on their knees, trying to minimise the windage, so their visibility's down a little bit, but they're making gains on the aero drag. I'll tell you a team that's making the gain right now, Rottwell Denmark, top of our screen, up to third.
On the bottom left here, we're showing the foiling efficiency. So this is just a little guide to see what exactly the teams are doing on board. So right now we can see New Zealand, Spain and Denmark, they're all flying around that 0.7 of a metre height, which in these conditions is quite safe. It's a little bit choppy out there. We don't want to sky the foils.
Yeah, we'll get the right side of the top marks rolling up. Definitely righties on our inside.
There you go. So Tom Slingsby's planning way ahead. Of course, the whole key to this racing, can I be proactive rather than reactive? He's trying to plan ahead, and he's talking about, OK, we're on this side of the course. We might be making a small loss right now, but I'm happy to make that loss because it means I'm going to get a longer-term gain by getting the right turn mark at the top of the course. So he's probably going to have to dip behind the Canadians, but he's hoping to turn right. Looks like from here, Canada are going to try and match that right turn as well. Tight for first and second, as we see Spain picked up a penalty on the Kiwi boat there, so that'll be costly for the Spanish. They've got to drop behind the Kiwis. That penalty will come off fairly soon with the manoeuvre they've done. Battle for third, fourth, fifth and sixth is really tight. Watch out, Canada, you've got to keep clear here. Australia's got the right of way. Aggressive manoeuvre by the Aussies. He forces them off the foils. Lead change. Apologies for a little bit of language from Phil on the back of the bus there. All got a bit tense on board that Canadian boat. Aggressive from Slingsby, but that was exactly what he talked about 30 seconds ago.
And Phil Robertson gets up close in person with that beautiful coloured water that he saw just moments ago. So it's Australia now in front. Canada, Great Britain and New Zealand, your top four.
Todd, it's Star Wars Day, May the 4th, and the force was with Tom Slingsby there. He saw that coming a long way in advance, made it stick, and what a gain. Look how tight it is, though. Rottwell Denmark, they're up to third. Burling chooses to split the course. He's going to turn left. It's all on now for this final downwind. Third, fourth, fifth, and even sixth tied together on a pretty short piece of string here. It's all going to come down to accurate manoeuvres.
And it will be really interesting to see if the Danish can hold on to this third place. Yesterday in practice racing, we saw that the Danish were matching the Australians' form downwind. So they're flying quite high, they're slightly bowed down, about 2 degrees, and that allows them to sail really fast. So it will be interesting to see if they can hold off the Kiwis. But
here we go. This is like 6 of 7. It is Australia, the winners of the first race, out in front. Their lead about 100 meters over Canada, and it may come down to that last gate, Stevie, the move that Tom Slingsby put on Phil Robertson to take that lead. So if this goes the way it is right now, it's going to be the exact results that we saw in race number 1. Australia 1, Canada 2. Where is New Zealand? They've fallen back just a little bit as Denmark and Nikolai Sehested have moved into 3rd place, and the Kiwis dropping back to 4th. So Tom Slingsby makes one more turn and about 200 meters straight shot there on the Great Sound, and another win will go into the account of the Australians. Remember, it's 10 points for a win, all the way down to 1 point for last place, and the Australians do it. Back to back, they work their magic, and Tom Slingsby claims yet another victory here on the Great Sound.
Wow, you do not want to make this Australian team angry with penalty points, do you? They are seriously coming back to get their season back on the books. I think they're just good wind at that right turn at the top there. The Danish made a big gain over New Zealand. New Zealand having to do a last little dive in at the mark there. So solid gains. It's a great camera angle here. You see the darker patches and the lighter patches of the screen there. Well, that's difference in wind. That texture's what the sailors read. Fantastic camera angle. Shows us it is a pretty gusty day out there. There's big opportunities to overtake. And, well, Tom Slingsby, he overtook when it really mattered.
And look at Spain coming in hot on Emirates GBR. Can they close the gap in time to pick up another position? Emirates GBR is going to push them a little bit wide. Great sailing by Giles Scott, as he will claim 5th place for Emirates GBR. Spain will have to settle for 6th. Disappointing for them, Stevie, because they were in the top 3 on the first 2 legs. Nathan Outers will bring the Swiss into 7th.
Yeah, they got themselves a penalty versus New Zealand. They had what we call port and starboard, which is a fairly basic sailing rule. And right-of-way boat in that situation was New Zealand. Spain didn't keep clear, and they've been penalised, as they should be. So mistakes are costly. Germany, look, they were up in 3rd place early on in the race. They came a little bit high on the foils, fell off the foils, back in 8th. The French as well, good first race. Little mistakes are going to absolutely hammer you when the conditions basically shouldn't mean mistakes are happening.
Eric Heil brings it home into 8th place, so the Germans back up a 5th with an 8th, and this is a big head scratcher here as France and Quentin Delapierre go from a 4th in race number 1, and they finish 9th in race number 2. That has to be their worst one, or they're not going to make the final.
Yeah, they've shown good consistency, that they've got things to learn, got to take on. I mean, mistakes are going to hammer you today. We saw USA made a mistake yesterday. That mistake's really hurt them. Obviously, they're not out here racing, unfortunately, but France, Germany made mistakes. Can't afford them.
2 races complete here at the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix. 1 more race still to go. Big moments, Emily. Let's talk about them.
And throwing it back to the start, we could see early on that pole predictor picked Canada, but there were 3 front runners that I think the algorithm was fighting pretty hard to predict. At the gun, we had Germany, Australia, and Canada right up on the line. Canada was the closest at 0.8 of a second to cross that line, but the Germans were the closest to the optimum point on the line, creating a brilliant battle to mark 1.
Yeah, and we saw a big split in the fleet at the bottom of the course here. Australia in the lead and turned right. Canada turned left, and it was a gain to Canada. They found more wind out that side. And then for Australia and for Canada, well, they had a battle royale through the race, but Slingsby, we heard it on his comms, he lined the Canadians up early, dipped behind them as he had to do, but as soon as he dipped behind, right of way suddenly with the Aussies, and he forces Phil Robertson to keep clear, falling off the foils to do that. Don't give the Aussies the lead. They know how to deal with that, and perfect start so far. Picket fence on the cards.
Back-to-back Aussie-Canada 1-2 finishes, with New Zealand finishing 3rd in race number 1. They finish in 4th in race number 2, so they are certainly in the mix, trying to get back to that form they had when they won their event in Christchurch. We go on board now. Peter Burling. Pete, I know you've got very good memories of sailing here in Bermuda, but what has the course been like here this week, and especially in that last race?
Oh, it's such a beautiful spot here in Bermuda, and like you've said, it's been many an hour in this part of the water, so it's always really nice to come back. Beautiful day out here. We've got that, probably averaging 25 km/h wind on the high-speed configuration, so it's slightly on the bottom end of this configuration, but it makes for some really changeable racing, which I think is what you see.
And Liv, you seem to be given some fairly tricky positions at Mark 1 to pick yourself through. What's the key when you are back in the pack out there on the water?
Don't be like that, mate.
I feel like that's a bit rude. We're definitely taking some opportunities where we get them, and I think splitting has done us a few favours coming around that bottom mark, but yeah, there's definitely opportunity out there, and hopefully it changes at Mark 1 for this one.
Well, Pete, to counter that, I have heard you're going pretty fast. CJ on board the Canadian boat said the Kiwis are rapid, so what's your special trick for that?
Well, we try and sail in our own patch of water and pull off some good manoeuvres, so there's not much special to it. It seems like it's puffy enough. There's a fair bit in this course. If you get in a good lane, you really pay for it. So, yeah, hopefully a bit more of that this race, but hopefully start a little closer to the front.
Pete Burling, Liv Mackay, thanks for your time. Wish you the best of luck in the 3rd and final race today. So it is New Zealand who gets 3rd in race number 1. It looks like they get 4th in race 2. So let's take a look at those results as they have now gone official. It is Australia and Canada, 1 and 2, just like in race number 1. Then it's Rockwell, Denmark getting into the 3rd place. Peter Burling, Liv Mackay and company, they finish in 4th place. And then it's Emirates GBR holding off Spain for 5th, Switzerland in 7th, and Germany and France bringing up the rear. Disappointing race as Quentin Delapierre certainly not the finish that he wanted after having a 4th in race number 1. So everyone now will debrief, and they'll start thinking about the 3rd and final race today. Remember, it's all about getting the points to get yourself into the top 3 of the event final. That's coming up tomorrow, the last race of the day. Of course, there is 2 more fleet races tomorrow. But what a season it has been so far. Season 4 championship certainly turned on its head after the collisions of last week with New Zealand, of course, moving ahead of Australia. The Aussies being docked 8 points. Also, Rockwell, Denmark, they were docked points. Emirates GBR, they were docked points. And, of course, the USA not competing here on day 1 in Bermuda because of the damaged wing on the capsize. So much to play for. And remember, still 3 more events to go, with Halifax, Canada coming up in June, New York City, June 22nd, and of course the grand final in San Francisco. That'll be July 13th and 14th. What a beautiful day here as Bermuda is on full display. Spain, France, and Rockwell, Denmark will be scrapping for every single point for their place in the grand final come San Francisco. How they perform in Bermuda could make or break their chances.
Yeah, it's pretty good to be 4th, only 1 point from the podium.
Clinical, Todd. Absolutely clinical by Delapierre.
Everyone tries to compare Spain and France because we've got the same age. Diego is kind of the same generation, so it's quite easy to compare and try to see who's the best team.
Spain on the inside, France on the outside, both of them looking for a big performance.
Diego is a super powerful athlete. I'm convinced that Diego or me or another youngster will take the lead soon.
France are sailing really well the boat lately, and they are a very strong contender to make that final, but there is also another, I don't know, 5 teams that can do it.
Let's go.
We don't worry too much about the other teams at this stage. We just got to go out and make sure we have some good weekends. And if we deliver points each weekend, the next 3 events, I think we're going to be in a good position.
Tightened on board, it's tight in the middle. Oh, there could be a collision in the middle of the line there. Oh, my word. Rockwell, Denmark and Canada. Rockwell, Denmark had to keep clear.
Yeah, very frustrating bit for us, but so we just got to move on from here on and keep it clean from here on the rest of the season.
Quentin Delapierre and France very fast off the line.
We changed a little bit our approach in straight line, and we were super happy, still really consistent on the maneuvers. We know that usually Bermuda is a lot about speed because the racetrack is a bit longer. You can make huge advantage on the straight lines.
I think we've been flying under the radar. We are in a super good position for how the season has been going for us, and the best thing for us is how we've been improving throughout the season. This is what gives us confidence to feel that we can keep improving and arrive to San Fran in a good shape.
Let's go, full speed.
Yeah, it's going to be a big fight.
So the race is on for the 3rd and final race, day 1 of the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix. This is event 10 of 13, and we're on the Great Sound in beautiful Bermuda. Right now, let's take you back to Christchurch and listen to some of the best onboard audio from Event 9.
But a good shot of the Canadians here. First I knew about them was a scream. Jesus. Absolutely no idea. Take.
Stay high. Coming up. Yep, hold. Building here, building. Hey! Christ. Protest, please.
Hold on. Canada!
Me.
there's nothing we can do, you guys. We're just pinned here. We're gonna need a chase boat. Chase straight in. Yeah, we're done, you guys. Sorry. Oh, nowhere to go. Nothing you do, mate. I would need a chase boat alongside pretty quickly.
Turning, Scott, clear on mark.
Yes.
We're end zone, we are end zone. Oh. Oh my God. Demolition Derby. Yeah, I think I just became the favourite Kiwi. Putting the Australian boat onto the finish mark.
Nice work, guys. Beautiful.
Nice work, Josh.
Give it off the rocks. Are you on deep here away? Very nice. Yeah, H180. Oh, what a ripper. How about it? What an absolute ripper.
Waves crash underneath, sound like thunder speaking. Flying carbon machines, driven by the world's best. Yes, powered by nature, powered by nature. We are SailGP.
Near perfect race conditions as more than 150 boats have made their way out onto the Great Sound to watch the world's best compete here at day one of the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix. This is sailing at its finest. We've got 9 race teams out on the water. Again, the USA unable to compete today because of a broken wing sustained in practice racing. But for the rest of the fleet, they are putting on an absolute show in what we have described as one of the best venues for sailing anywhere in the world. So the standings look like this. After 2 races, it is tight at the top. Australia and Canada go 1 and 2. New Zealand sits in 3rd. So if this was tomorrow and that was the end of 5 fleet races, it would be Australia, Canada, New Zealand racing in the event final. As it stands, we still have 3 more fleet races and more opportunities to pick up points. But if you are at the bottom of the table right now, France, Switzerland, you are in a lot of trouble of not making it. But Spain, Germany, France, all tied on 9 points. They still got an opportunity with Emirates GBR to make some moves. Rockwell Denmark did themselves a solid getting that 3rd place in the last race. And Rockwell Denmark having a great job as we approach 4.5 minutes to go before the 3rd and final race of the day. And we turn the page on to Sunday. Just moments ago, Lisa Darmanin caught up with Rockwell Denmark and Nikolai Sehested.
Well, that was a pretty good race, Nikolai. Obviously, you guys are bouncing back with the new bow. How's the racing going out here?
Yeah, we're slowly getting warmed up. We had a lot of boat issues before the start, so we didn't really get to do the warm-up we wanted, but I think we're getting warm now, and I think hopefully the next race will be the best one of them.
They're pretty nice conditions out here. What's sort of the key to be able to get around this racetrack?
I think for us, it's just trying to stay out of traffic, keep it clean. Yeah, there's a little bit better breeze on the right, so those boats that get the ride early seem to gain a lot, so we're going to try and fight a bit more for that.
And how far in advance are you planning those mark roundings?
Already at the start, because you need to know where you are on the M1, so which is, yeah, it's a bit hard sometimes because it doesn't always go as planned. Most of the time it doesn't go as planned, so but now you plan ahead, and we already have the start plan sorted now, so it's quite a detailed structure to how we race it.
Well, I'm sure you're not thinking too far ahead, but obviously overall standings got shaken up after Christchurch. Are you thinking about that, or are you going for the race win every time?
Yeah, we don't think of the all. We just make sure we get a good race every time we're here, and then eventually we'll get some points. So we just got to put a little bit better race together next race, and a top 2 would be a good one now to finish on.
Well, we'll let you get into your pre-start. Thanks, Nikolai.
Thanks.
Nikolai Sehested of Rockwell Denmark currently sitting in 4th place here with 13 points, 2 back of New Zealand for that final spot. So there are the 9 teams getting ready to participate in the 3rd and final race of the day here at the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix. As we take a look, under 3 minutes to go until it's all on, and everyone will be scrapping for those points. No one wants to go into Sunday way back on the leaderboard. But here's how it stands right now. Australia on top, 20 points. They've won both races. Canada has got 2nd in both races. And Stevie, this is where it gets kind of interesting. New Zealand and Denmark, pretty equal, 15-13. But look at all the teams locked in at 9th. With 9 points, I should say. Yeah,
I mean, it's tight, but let's not forget, Todd. I mean, they're all professional athletes out here. They're all paid money to be here, of course. But there is bonus prize money. There's $400,000 to be won out of this event. And then for Australia, I think it's interesting to see how they've come back. You know, Tom Slingsby likes the titles. But don't lose sight of the fact that in San Francisco, when we get there, that grand final race, there's $2 million on the line this year for those people in the final. Not saying Tom Slingsby's motivated by money, but he's come back with a serious bit between his teeth. And yeah, we say they're professional athletes, but there's some fairly serious prize money carrots out there for them to help motivate and sharpen the performance, let's say.
Under 2 minutes to go, and thinking about $2 million in San Francisco down the line. That comes up, of course, July 13th and 14th. Right now, let's go down on the water. Get a prediction from one of our favorite Aussies, Lisa Darmanin.
Oh, I'm going to sound biased, but those Australians, they are looking so on today. They're looking comfortable and relaxed. So I'd be surprised if them and Canada weren't 1-2 again.
Okay, so there you go. Canada looking good as well. They've got 2 second-place finishes, 90 seconds to go. Emily Nagel, I'll put you on the spot. These are your home waters. Who do you think is sailing the best right now outside of Australia? Who has a chance of knocking the Aussies off their win streak?
Outside of Australia, we've definitely seen good performances so far by the Canadians.
Yep.
That's hard to ignore. They've been sailing really well. We can't forget their very first event was here, and they sailed brilliantly back then. So all eyes on them.
Final minute of preparation before the race is on. Race number 3. Can Australia make it a clean sweep on day number 1? Can the Canadians move one step up the rung? And will teams like France and Spain, Stevie, rise up and take this opportunity to get some points?
Yeah, I mean, certainly Canada are being the spoilers here for Spain, Rockwool, Denmark, and France. They're really on that battle for the top 3, of course. And Canada will hope to get there. They probably do need an event win, but Phil Robertson, he's the master starter. It's really a masterclass in starting that gets these Canadians at the front. It's tight at the bottom of the line. Look at that, Australia, Denmark, France, all manoeuvring close for the pole position towards the bottom of the line there, towards the right-hand side of our screen. Who's in the pole predictor position at the moment? We'll find out soon when we see that gold dot on the top of the lines, but I like where Switzerland is. France are quite close to the line. Germany up and foiling. Spain foiling, bottom left-hand side of our screen. All about timing here now as we see the line getting ready to turn white. Who's got it right?
Here we go.
Oh, what a start by Botin at the top of the line, the only boat at full speed. He's hammering in fast here. Phil Robertson's got it out of the gun as well. He's going, well, it's going to be Spain, Canada, Australia vying for first at Mark 1.
And as they approach mark number 1 in the 3rd and final race of the day, it is Spain on the outside, Phil Robertson and Canada coming in tight on the inside, and it will be Spain that gets the whole shot here in Bermuda.
What a start by Botin there, Todd. He was absolutely hammer down, pedal to the metal when the gun went. Perfection from the Spanish. Slingsby still in the mix, out the back again, New Zealand. He's not got his starting happening just yet. But anyway, that doesn't matter for us right now. Diego Botin on board this Spanish boat. He's given himself a chance. Can they stick the lead?
Could they get a win here? That would be huge. Spain coming off a 7th in race number 1, a 6th in race number 2.
And a 2nd at the moment for the Canadian team. Really good consistency for them.
Full speed, not bad indeed.
Well, it wasn't bad, Diego, but that jibe you just did there was not great. They turned on the downwind leg, they got a bit slow, and look at the angle difference and the speed difference there. They executed the manoeuvre not particularly well. Canada nailed it, and very soon the Canadians are going to start to put some disturbed air. And we heard there, Botin, he already is compromised by the Canadians. We heard Denmark saying left turn, head towards that side of the course favoured. Canada are perfect for that. Botin's looking to spin away and turn right. Could be a potential loss of places here for the Spanish. They've already lost 1. Will they lose the Australians as well?
Look at Denmark threading the needle through the fleet right here as they dip behind Switzerland. All kinds of congestion, and it's Phil Robertson that makes the turn first. Slingsby goes with him, so there they are, the 2 best teams so far on the right side. Diego Botin and the Spanish go left.
Eyes on the Canadians here. We heard from the Danish before that the right-hand side of the course is where the teams want to be going. That's been favoured previously. See if it pays off this time.
Camera angle there. It looked like pretty dark on the water there. We see looking through here, they see that darker colour on that right-hand side of the course where Canada are compared to the left. That's not an illusion. That's slightly more wind on that side of the course, so this should be good news for Canada. But can they execute a good enough manoeuvre? They're off the foils, and it's tricky to foil on these small foils in this light winds. Big loss already.
So currently it is showing that the Canadians have slightly more wind speed, but they did go into that big lull which caused them to come off the foils. So it is still all to play for. Lots of holes out there.
So you heard a talk of a shift out on course. We'll go down in the water, check in with Lisa Darmanin. There's talk of the breeze letting up just a little bit. Lisa, can it hold on for another 10, 15 minutes?
Okay.
It has died off, but I mean, the gusts are still just as much as we've seen, but the discrepancy between the light patches and the dark patches are way more. So Spain, Denmark, they came out way stronger out of that manoeuvre, but now Australia, Canada, they're heading to the side where I'm sitting. There's more pressure, and I think it will give them a really nice angle into the next mark. But as we were saying kind of earlier in the day, there are overtaking lanes out here, and the fleet seems a little bit more congested than they were in the previous races, so a little bit more elbows out potentially.
Yeah, and Stevie, to your point earlier, how Peter Burling likes to stay away from everyone. It's like he's allergic to the rest of the fleet, and that seems to be what Nikolai Sehested is employing, is he is finding spots where he's all by himself. Right now, currently sitting in second place behind Spain.
Yeah, often the key to this game is, can I, sail myself at maximum potential? You need to be in space to do that. Burling's making it hard for himself today. See the Spanish out in front, and of course, big moment for them really in their season, because Spain, they're one of the teams that's not privately owned. There's a lot of speculation about who's going to get ownership of these teams. Spain need to find a new buyer, and look at them there. They're doing a good job of selling themselves.
And here we've got those live speeds, 45 kilometres an hour. That's 30 miles per hour, which is faster than the legal driving limit in Bermuda. So these boats are going faster than any cars nearby.
You never sped in Bermuda when you were living there, did you? No comment. Gate number 3 as they make their way through. It's Diego Botín in Spain out in front. Denmark in second. Australia sitting in third, and Canada in fourth. So the same villains still lurking at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, and that good decision at the bottom by, well, maybe not good decision even. Spain didn't want to turn right. They had to choose to turn right, and they made a gain. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, as we see back in the pack there. Switzerland just ahead of New Zealand. New Zealand are taking a few places, but back in 8th. They're making life very difficult for themselves. Yeah. Same for Emirates, Great Britain. They're just not seen themselves in a podium position yet on board that British boat, and they need to start seeing some form fairly soon. As right there, New Zealand off the foils, and look at the discrepancy in speed.
They are the overall leaders in Season 4 on 68 points. They won the last event, their home event, so the Black Foils just adjusting to the water here. New Zealand so far today has sailed a 3rd place, a 4th place, and to Stevie's point, they currently sit in 8th place.
2, 1, look, turning.
Voice of Diego Botín.
Yeah, that was Botín there talking about the manoeuvre there. He just turns just in front, but they get a little bit heeled over there. Not perfect. You want that platform to stay a little bit flatter. Too heeled, but still, it might not be too disastrous. Are they going to make it down to this right turn? They will be slow. Rockwool Denmark coming fast on the outside. I think the Spanish team are far enough ahead here, but expect the distance to close up a little bit as we start heading upwind.
The boat that I'm most impressed with so far this race is the Danish, who have gone from 5th to 2nd.
Tight moment, though, with Canada and Australia. Canada gives the Australians a nudge. The Australians now have right of way on the inside. It's aggressive between these two. Canada get a little high and a little hot round the outside there. Wow, that was tight in the pack.
Canada set up. Yeah, let's...
Both teams involved with collisions in the last few events, and it is Canada. Phil Robertson plays it smart, shows his maturity, gives Tom Slingsby something to think about, but no contact made.
It's almost like Phil's growing up, isn't it?
Denmark in the lead, Spain in second, Germany in third, it's Australia at the 4th, and Canada your top 5.
Look, quietly moving up the fleet, Todd, top of our screen towards what we call the right-hand side of the course, Germany. Showing us 3rd right now. They've got a manoeuvre to do. That'll cost them a bit of distance. We know that, but they will have the right of way. Not sure how well have they executed that manoeuvre. Yes, they're up over 40 kilometres an hour still. Should still be foiling. Germany making a move back up through the fleet. Showing us 3rd. I think they're probably really in 5th at the moment once the cross winds itself out. Good performance by the Germans, but at the moment, can the Spanish hold off the charging Danes?
You talk about good performance by the Danes and the Spanish. Disappointing for me as a fan, France. I thought in these conditions, Stevie, France would be one of the teams at the front.
Yeah, I think so. I think interesting they're on these high-speed foils. You're seeing that all the boats are losing relatively a lot more distance when they manoeuvre. That's because they're having to sail at a very aggressive angle to get the speed up to stay on the foil. They're having to turn a long way, again, to keep the speed up, and that's really hurting them. So to do a foiling manoeuvre, which we know to be key, is very, very costly of distance. So every time you manoeuvre, it's tricky, and I'm not sure the French are liking that.
And here we've got those average speeds of our top 3 teams. Now, Australia are showing as having the highest average speed, but they are sailing more distance, which is very costly in these shifty conditions.
There you see the percentage on board. That is the percentage of fly time in this race. Spain near perfect. Australia 97, Denmark 97 as well. So that is why they are at the front end of the marks right now. And the top teams making life difficult for the rest of the fleet here on the 3rd and final race of the day.
Okay, we've got a split coming here, Todd. We've got a left turn coming for Spain and Australia. Denmark are going to turn right. Looks like in the short term, Denmark are going to sail a bit more distance, but there seems to have been more wind on the side of the course where Denmark are heading. So it'll be interesting how this plays out. Slingsby, he hasn't made a lot of mistakes today, so the fact he's turning left is interesting, but I think it just was to save manoeuvres. There seems to be good wind on that side of the course, as Canada and New Zealand are very tight. The Kiwis are right back in this when it matters. Canada are got to stay clear. Whoa! Another great move. Aggressive there. Forced the error, New Zealand. And Burling, he's like Harry Houdini in these conditions. He pulls a rabbit out of the hat when he needs to. New Zealand were at the back of the pack there, up to 4th, and he's dropped the Canadians off the foils. They got a penalty to do. They're going to have to lose a lot of distance to clear that penalty, and they're off the foil. You are hemorrhaging distance when you're off the foil.
You just don't want to poke the bear, and Canada got full sense of it as they drop back with the penalty, Emily. They now go to 5th place as New Zealand has moved up to 4th.
And that's going to be critical on that overall leaderboard for this event, because that will narrow those points down. New Zealand might be able to leapfrog Canada and move into 2nd place.
So the race is on leg 6 of 7. They're getting down to this end of the course on the right side of your screen, and then it'll be a quick left-hand turn. One more maneuver here coming for Spain as they are in the lead, but here comes Australia and Tom Slingsby with a lot of speed coming up to mark 6.
We see the path behind Denmark. Look how they had to change angle there. I think he was trying to get contact with Australia, couldn't make it happen. He's had to re-accelerate. So now Denmark are going to be really fast here. Spain are gone. Forget about them. This is a race win for Bottine. Australia's going to spin on the mark, and here come Denmark. What can they do? Can he stay fast enough to get round the outside? If he can get overlapped, if he can get alongside Australia, expects an aggressive move from Sehested.
Oh, so very close as Nikolai Sehested is running the Australians off course.
I thought he was a nice guy on the race course. That was aggressive from Sehested.
The Great Dane goes full Viking on the Aussies.
Oh, aggression from Sehested. That's what we want from Rockwool, Denmark. Big move. Slingsby kept clear. He'll take 3rd. He's had a great day out in the water, and Burling out of nowhere. This looked like this could have been a painful race for the Kiwis, but they've saved it, and it's turning into a painful race for Phil Robertson. He was right at the front of the fleet. One mistake, and now Giles Scott on board Emirates Great Britain. He dives inside. One more manoeuvre for each team.
My driving. My wheel. My wheel.
And look at this. Look at this. At the final mark, it's Phil Robertson to the inside of Emirates GBR.
Another aggressive move. Robertson must keep clear here. I don't think he did have room to go in there potentially at the mark, but Emirates Great Britain did not do a nice job of that final turn, but they've done a brilliant job on this final leg of shutting the door on Robertson. How costly will that be for Canada? It's getting heated.
Eric Heil slides into 7th place with the French taking 8th. In last place for the Swiss and Nathan Outridge as they will finish in 9th. So, Stevie, there's lufting someone, and then there's making it stick. And that time, Nikolai Sehested was making sure the door was not only shut, but slammed and locked on Tom Slingsby for 2nd.
He's got a match racing background, Nikolai Sehested, and we've always seen perhaps a calm, calculated Danish team. They talk about one race at a time. Let's get things right. He went full grizzly bear on the Australians there, and what a move by Sehested. Made it stick when he needed to, and that's a really good day for the Danes. Big day for the overall leaderboard, I'd say, there, because France are not going to be happy with that performance.
Wow, what a race. Race number 3 brings day number 1 to a conclusion, and it is Spain. Remember, Spain finished 7th in race number 1. They finished 6th in race number 2, so they are trending up, stock up definitely for Diego Botín and the Spanish. We now go on board. Diego, congratulations. From the start to the finish, you guys raced one of the best races we've seen from you. Obviously, the winners in Los Angeles. How are these waters of Bermuda treating you, and what can we expect tomorrow?
Yeah, it's super tough here. The fleet is super tight. We managed to get a good start to get a good read on the fleet, and then, yeah, was a very nice battle with the Danes to maintain that first place. It's going to be full on.
Diego, that starting was an absolute beauty. Is it just so much easier when you're first at Mark 1?
Yeah, definitely. The hardest thing here is when you have boats around with, everyone is sailing the boats really well now, and getting out of these blocks is the hardest part. So yeah, if you're first, the race becomes so much easier.
Diego, it's got to feel great after we've had so many events where the wind has been maybe less than ideal. You get optimum conditions today. What are you expecting? What are you hearing tomorrow for the forecast? And what will you guys do differently, if anything?
Yeah, so tomorrow looks nice, a bit lighter, but we will be on the big foils, on the lighter boards and rudders. So yeah, we expect some more good and close racing. It's going to be beautiful.
All right, Diego, enjoy the victory. Congratulations. We will see you tomorrow. Spain, SailGP gets the win in the third and final race, and that is huge for them as they pick up a massive win after finishing 7th and 6th in the first 2 races.
Now, a trend we've seen all day is that when it comes to the start, it is all about hitting the line at top speed. Now, the Swiss had the best time start. They were the closest at the gun, but it was the Spanish who hit the line at full speed, opposite end to the optimum point, but they were going at over 73 kilometers an hour at the gun.
Well, and we see there, they were a bit compromised after Mark 1. We saw a split, they turned right, the other boats turned left. But what we've seen over the day is the wind's changing direction a lot. There are opportunities to make overtakes and not make overtakes. Spain did a really nice job of staying ahead. Australia, well, they just don't go away, do they? And it was really, really tight at the bottom. Australia entitled to room at the inside on this mark, but as soon as Denmark become alongside Australia, suddenly it's a problem for Australia. And, well, we saw a different side to the Viking, didn't we? Nikolai Seherstedt, aggressive, made it stick really well. That's a good day for the Danes, but Australia are back and they mean business here in Bermuda.
And the Spanish there with a faultless race with 100% fly time, but the Danish, what's really interesting here is they also had that same average speed, 55 kilometers an hour, but sailed significantly more distance. Now, this is the mode we've seen with the Danish quite frequently, where they aim for that higher speed but slightly more distance, and boy did that pay off in that race there. The teams with the extra maneuvers, they're the ones that really suffered.
Let's go back to fleet race number 1 to start the day off, and once again it was the Australian Stevie looking like a little bit of anger coming back from Christchurch.
Yeah, a bit of anger, probably had a little bit of a time to think and reflect, and, you know, he just got off the start line very, very well today. It was a kind of day where mistakes were going to be punished out there, and we saw the French there. They were the ones, unfortunately, making a mistake. No mistakes from Australia here. Yeah. Stayed on the foils and stayed fast, and, of course, staying fast, so important there. Phil Robertson, he said this is what he calls the Craig Mitchell. Go around the outside, keep some space. Happen to think Craig wasn't wrong in a lot of his decisions, but here he did a great job, Phil, and the Canadians were a pretty good boat out there today.
Fleet race number 2, Emily, more of the same, more Australia, more Canada. And when I say angry, I think it's motivated as they are still trying to bounce back from those points that were deducted in Christchurch.
Yeah, they're definitely out there fighting for every point they can, but we saw some brilliant sailing in this race, from Canada in particular, really pushing the boat to the limit, but some costly mistakes still.
So Australia, Canada go 1 and 2 in race number 2, and then it was all on race number 3, and cue the Spanish, Stevie, they were in fuego.
They were fuego on that start line, that is for sure. And yeah, it's a shifty race course. They didn't choose to make some of the moves they did, but you've got to execute them very well. They stayed very high with their foiling percentage, and they got it done. And yeah, we just saw again some more aggressive work on these legs, as we saw, you know, Seherstedt manages to get a second, save his day really. He'll be back in the mix.
So one day is complete at the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix. Here's how the scoring looks. Australia really dominant on the day, getting 2 wins and a third. They are on 28 points. Canada sits in second on 23. Rockwell, Denmark, even with New Zealand on 22. And Spain still in the mix because they finished so well in that third and final race. Remember, 10 points for win, 1 point for last place. It's going to be difficult for MSGBR, Germany, and France now to get into the event finals. We go on to the water. Nikolai Seherstedt and Denmark getting the Great performance on the day. Not the biggest win, but again, finishing that last race in second place. Nikolai, take us through that final maneuver when you see your old friend Tom Slingsby pulling up aside. You didn't just force him left, you made sure he stayed left.
Yeah, it was a quite important point for us. So we also knew there was a big gap behind us. So whoever was going to get that point was the one who wanted it the most, and he was in a bit of a vulnerable position. So we felt pretty good going into it.
Katja, we always seem to think of Nikolai as a nice guy, but clearly there's a slightly more aggressive side to him. Is that a move that we're going to see for the rest of the season? Do you think a more aggressive Rockwool Denmark?
That's the thing about Nikolai. He's sometimes he just get that evil eyes, and then he's ready to kill whatever's around him.
A nice job out there today. You seem to do a good job of coming. You seem to do a very nice job of coming back through the fleet, Katja. What was the key to making overtakes out there today?
Well, for us, it was really about getting a boat that was sailing fast. In the end here, we actually had the options of taking the other mark and actually gaining a little bit on one side, but in reality it was all about good maneuvers and good boat speed.
Nikolai and Katja, thank you so much for your time. Wish you the best of luck tomorrow. Championship Sunday, 2 more fleet races, and Denmark is certainly in the mix. So 1 day of racing is complete at the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix, and we all look to Sunday. Before we say goodbye, let's check in down on the water with Lisa Darmanin.
Okay, we're on. Well, I am with the leaders of the day. I know, Tom, you would have been happy with a 113, but would you be more happy with a 112?
I would have been happy with a 112, obviously. It was a close finish. I think with a league to go, we were saying we're happy with the third here, just hold on. And then we actually caught up to Denmark and we had a shot at them. I don't know, yeah, it was close. If we had another half a length, we might have been able to pull that manoeuvre off. But, yeah, that was a really good day. We're really happy.
Tash, have you been busy out here today, keeping an eye on all the boats?
Yeah, it's been good, but it's actually a little bit like wider course than usual, so it's not as tight. But obviously with the breeze up, it's definitely tricky, and yeah, good fun though.
Well, Kyle, I would ask you what the wind is doing tomorrow. Do you know, or do I need to tell you?
The forecast is currently for a little bit less wind than we had today. Obviously we like the breeze, so the more the better, and we'll keep our fingers crossed that it will build over forecast.
So as we say in the direction northeast, around 20 kilometres per hour, just gusting to about 24 kilometres per hour. So should be a great day, high speed, all-purpose swing and light air boards, I imagine.
Well, that's a lot of Aussie speak from Tom Slingsby, Tosh Bryant, and Kyle Langford. And our thanks to Lisa Darmanin as we get ready to close things down on day number 1 here at the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix. Stevie, Emily, what an amazing day of racing.
Yeah, perfect, really, and great comeback for the Australians, for Rockwool Denmark. Both teams that probably needed to perform, they have. Overnight, there's a few teams like the French that need a good debrief.
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible day out there. I mean, what more did you expect from Bermuda? Yes. It is the perfect venue. I'm not biased at all, but such brilliant racing and really tight crosses.
Well, congratulations to all the teams today. The big winners on the day, though, Australia, and they'll look to back it up tomorrow. So for Stevie Morrison, Emily Nagel, Lisa Darmanin, I'm Todd Harris saying so long for now. We'll see you tomorrow for day 2 of the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix in beautiful Bermuda. This is the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix.
Oh, they fell! Oh, my Lord! Disaster!
Aggressive manoeuvre by the Aussies.
Back to back, they work their magic.
Oh, a start by Bottini! Oh,
Great Dane goes full Viking on the Aussies.